All right. Well, it is 6:30. Welcome all to the March 3rd edition of the Easton Planning and Zoning Board. This is a remote meeting, so I'll read the procedures for remote participation. To use Zoom, you will need to use the link on the agenda or download the Zoom application and create an account. You will need the webinar ID to join by phone only. While conducting remote meetings, we will endeavor to keep meeting operations as close to standard procedures as possible. However, use of the remote platform will necessitate some additional meeting protocols. While the board members or commissioners and applicants will be on video and audio invited to speak by the chair, public participants joining by Zoom will be muted and with no video feed from them. Public lines will be muted throughout the meeting to allow the board to conduct business and to eliminate background noise. For general meetings, not hearings, and only for items under which the chair solicits public comment, members of the public participating in the Zoom meeting may submit a written question via text chat, provided they include their full name and address for the public record. Members of the public viewing the meeting on ECAT may submit their questions in writing to dped@easton.ma.us. The chair reserves the right to respond to questions during the live meeting, but may limit the time for such activities. Any questions not addressed in the meeting may be answered afterwards via email and will be incorporated into the minutes of the meeting for the public record. All votes will be by roll call. For public hearings, during the public testimony portion of the meeting, members of the public joining via Zoom may be recognized by using the raise hand function found under participants from Zoom, or make a request with the Q&A function. If you're joining only by phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand. The chair reserves the right to designate a specific point of the hearing at which testimony may be offered, the duration and comment afforded to each individual, and the number of individuals permitted to speak. As in any public hearing, testimony offered must be related to the hearing being held. All right. So to get tonight's meeting started, let's do a roll call. Weeks.
Here.
Adam.
Here.
Kidd.
Here.
Wolf.
Here.
And Stetson is here as well. So first up is an internally illuminated sign review. This is 95 Eastman Street, signs by Cam.
Okay, I think we have Camillo. Oh, wrong person was. Sorry, Brittany. Could you kind of, back out? I think.
Should I leave the meeting, rejoin?
I'm going to put you on hold. Okay. Then we have Camillo. Or unless, is that Brittany? No, there we go. Sorry about that.
Hello. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Welcome. We can hear you.
Great.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. My name is Cam Afonso. I'm from Signs by Cam, Inc. I've been in the business for 32 years, and we're looking to change up the signage for the new owners of the O'Brien's Automotive. They have an existing sign that's old and rotted, and also the building sign that we've removed. So these are internally lit. The street sign's internally lit, excuse me, and well under the square footage allowed. We will abide by the bylaws. I believe we cannot light it till or past 11 p.m., which is fine. Same thing with the building sign. That's internally lit LED channel letters. Again, that'll also be limited to 11 p.m. Everything's aluminum and no steel. The sign will last for many years. If you have any questions, feel free to fire away.
Okay. Thank you, Stephanie.
Okay.
Stephanie, any comments?
No, and I'm sorry, I didn't realize that Camilla wasn't going to be sharing his screen.
I'm sorry, I wasn't told to. I apologize.
So,
No problem. Any questions from board members?
Yeah, I have a question. There is any additional signs affixed to the under the canopy, directional signs, anything else?
Nope, nothing. Nope. What you see is what you get.
If there are no further questions, I'll accept the motion.
Motion to approve the sign as presented. Kevin?
Second, Wolf.
Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. Kedem,
Aye.
Weeks,
Aye.
Kidd,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
and Stetson's an aye as well. All right. Thank you and good luck.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right. Next up, we have a continued site plan review for 718 Washington Street.
I am promoting everybody right now.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Peralta. I'm a registered professional civil engineer with PMP Consulting, Inc. With me tonight is, I don't see on the screen, but Sammy Cripps is with me, and possibly some of the applicant and the representatives. We were here a few weeks ago. There was a request that we would submit building elevations and the photogrammetric plans. That has been done. We've since received a staff report. Thank you, Stephanie. Going through all the outstanding items and noting that we've addressed all the issues. So at this point in time, we've completed the request of the board. We provided the documents, but we are available this evening if you have any further questions before you close the hearing.
Stephanie, I read the staff report. Any additional comments?
No, the only it's not outstanding preventing the board from voting, but the existing structure that they propose to demolish is 75 years old. Of course, they'll need to apply for a demolition permit, and that will trigger the demolition review by the Historical Commission. But it doesn't sound like it is a historically significant building.
That process has already been started. I believe Sammy's had initial meetings, and I'm moving along with that application.
Stephanie, would you recommend that we do that as some kind of a condition or?
Yeah, yes, you can.
Okay.
I wouldn't hold up the decision, but yes.
Okay. Any additional questions or comments from my fellow board members?
I'm not sure if I saw the sign. Was there a sign as part of the plan?
We've done a location for a sign, but signs have to conform with zoning, and that would, once the applicant has come up with an idea for his sign, then that will be a separate submission.
Okay. I'm assuming it's going to have space for potentially 10 businesses.
Could be. It could be. You never know. Somebody might want to join two of the units together
Sure,
for their
sure.
use. So that's why we try not to give a sign at this stage of the game. It's a little premature. But we do have a location shown on the site plan so we can make sure it's not interfering with turning movements in and out of the site.
Okay. Is there an option to put windows in the building if somebody wants an office that has natural light?
I believe there is.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions, motions?
I have a question. Will the roof of this building permit solar panels?
I am not sure of the structural capacity of the roof, but the roof is aligned in a great location that you could do that if the owner wishes to proceed solar energy on the south facing roof. So they are steel beam construction with that type of building. So I don't see why not, but that's above my engineering.
Well, the reason I mention is because this is ideal for that.
Yes,
Directional, no shade, perfect.
that's something that the owner can evaluate whether or not he wishes to do that. But yes,
Anyone else? Motions?
I'm sorry, Clever Viejo? I'm not going to pronounce the last name correctly, and I believe he is the applicant, the owner has asked to speak. I'm promoting him to panelist.
Hi.
Go.
Hi, good night, guys.
The floor is yours if you have any additional comments.
Yes, I did the calculation for put a solar panel whole roof, and the guys forget put a windows. I have in the front door, above the front door, the small door, I have a big windows over there to get a light, because that way you can put a office in the front. And a single door, the pass door.
Thank you.
So I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, could you ask Mr., and again, please correct my pronunciation if it's wrong, Viejo? Or is it
No, Fejo.
Viejo? Could he repeat what he said about the solar panels?
Yeah, the roof that's calculated for use of solar panel, whole roof.
Okay,
Try
thank
put both sides. The guys still calculate for use one size only if you can use the whole roof with solar panel. That's my plan.
All right. Any additional questions, comments, or motions?
The motion will be to close the public hearing, right?
Well, it's just a site plan review, so I don't think it's a public hearing.
It's not?
Mm-mm.
No.
No, okay.
So would it be a motion to approve the site plan review conditioned on approval of the meeting with the historical commission?
Approval of demolition.
So we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second, Kevin.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. Kedem,
Aye.
Weeks,
Aye.
Kidd,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
and Stetson's and I as well. Good luck to you all.
thank you very much for your time.
Appreciate it.
Have a good night.
You too.
All right. Next up, we have a site plan review at 89 Kennedy Circle. Christopher and Brittany Butler.
Okay, if Ms. Butler would, there we go.
Welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here tonight. I'm going to describe a little bit about my program, and then I can share my screen after, and whatever you guys would like to review. So I am pleased to present the statement in support of the continued operation and expansion of Miss Brittany's Kids Academy. I currently run a trusted family childcare and preschool center that's been serving the Easton community for the past 3 years. Since our founding, we have built a strong reputation for providing high-quality early childhood education and care in a safe, nurturing, and developmentally enriching environment. Over the years, we've had the privilege of working with many local families and fostering many wonderful relationships with parents and children. I have a dedicated team of 3 part-time and full-time myself staff members, which ensures personalized attention and engaging learning experiences for children. We are seeking approval to continue operating as a licensed daycare center. We are looking to grow from a family childcare to a group center at this location. It's currently a single-family residence, and I am looking to essentially move out of the residence and license the entire residence as a childcare center. So I'm looking for approval of up to 36 children and 6 staff members on the property. And then, bear with me. This is my totally first time doing this as well. So if you guys need to guide me along the way, please feel free. I did upload everything onto Permit Eyes. Would you like me to show the site plan first?
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay, let me share my screen here. Okay. Okay, so here's the site plan. So this is the current home, and next to it we have a play space that is that's already there and being utilized. I have drawn up. I think I did upload another one with the numbered parking. So on Permit Eyes, I don't have it right in front of me, but there should be numbered parking. I did read over the staff review that said that these 2 parking spaces may be too close. So I have drawn up an alternate with diagonal parking spaces along this side and essentially closing in this circle a little bit more. So extending the parking here. I will pull that up to show you guys. So this I had just uploaded to Permit Eyes this evening with an alternate plan for parking. So essentially widening these spaces a little bit to help with parking for, you know, children or handicap accessible, and then putting parking along the side at an angle. So drop off could pull in this way to go through here. I did read on staff memo that I believe, you know, it was measured and there's space to do 4 cars in queue at any given time. So with the 4 cars in queue in this circular part of the driveway, I would have to have 10-minute intervals for drop off and pickup. So between 8 and 9:30 a.m., we would schedule those pickups, drop offs and pickups. Let's see. What else can I add? We currently, the way I run it currently as a family childcare, like I said, it has been running for 3 years. And the families do just pick up and drop off in this circular portion of the driveway. And each drop off only takes between 2 to 5 minutes. And they walk around back. This is the play area. And they walk around back to this classroom door. Would it be helpful for me to show the blueprints for the home as well, so you can see the childcare rooms, or did you just want me to speak on the parking portion?
Well, that's certainly the portion I'm most interested in, but you know, you can certainly feel free to show anything you think would be useful.
Okay. I'll just pull this up real quick. So this is the current daycare space. This is the lower level. And then there's a back door right here. So there's current parking in front of the garage, and then there would be parking over here to the left. And the parents currently walk through here and around to this entrance. So that would remain one classroom. And then the other two classrooms would be through the front door, which would have a walkway over to the parking, and then off the back, small porch area. So I'll take it back to the parking here. So I believe this would be a better option than the original one that I had drawn with the straight parking spots here, because I did understand when I went through the staff narrative what you were talking about in regards to, say, these two parking spaces backing out. There wouldn't have been quite enough room to maneuver that.
Thank you.
Do you have any? Sorry.
Well, yeah, let me just see if I can get some feedback from Stephanie. So Stephanie, one thing I noticed is that the building department didn't comment on this at all. Is that just because of the timing of it, or because I mean I know when it comes to parking spaces, I know there are sizes, and I know
Yeah, I've never had the building department really comment on parking in the past. And generally they don't comment on, so all this indicates is that they didn't respond. It wasn't that they put no comment or anything. And they don't usually comment unless they think it might be some type of zoning violation or not in compliance with zoning.
I mean, are there requirements on sizes of like parking spaces or anything that we need to drill down on here at all?
There are, it's,
I mean, so maybe this is a better question for Ms. Butler.
Mm-hmm.
So when you put together this plan in terms of the one that you're showing us on the screen, mm-hmm. how did you devise the what the measurements and things of that nature?
Yep. So I was told when I received multiple like driveway quotes for paving and whatnot and parking spaces that they would need to be at least 9 feet wide by 18 feet long.
That's what I was going to say.
Yes, that is ideal. So that is what this should show on the sides, 6 through 9. And then these ones I had drawn up at 10 feet wide, just to give a little bit more room for, handicap accessible children, infants, just, a little bit more room next to the cars.
And when you say you had them drawn up, who drew them up, or did you?
Oh, I drew them, the parking spots.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. So what, you just measured it, and I mean, I'm, as you can tell, a layperson when it comes to putting together parking spaces. I just want to make sure there's enough room, I guess, is my point.
Yep. So, I was told, like I said, again, my first time navigating this, but I was told, because I had a plan that was to scale, I had it printed to scale. So it should show, 1 inch to 20 feet. And so then I was just able to use a ruler to measure and draw those lines up. So they should be pretty accurate,
And Bob, I did verify that.
Okay. All right. That was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
Okay. So Stephanie, any other questions, comments?
So I have a couple new ones as a result of what Ms. Butler is proposing, oh, let me get back here.
Mhm.
So you're showing these as diagonal,
Mhm.
which would be parking in them would be facilitated by coming in on I believe that's the north side,
Mhm.
and pulling into those spots. And on the original drawing, you had the circulation in the opposite direction.
Yep.
And this was one of the comments I think I forgot to add to my report, was what kind of signage you're going to have that indicates the flow of traffic. Because especially, I think people are going to be coming from the south side because that's closer to Washington Street.
Which would be, can you see my mouse on the screen?
Yeah,
Okay, do you mean they would be coming from here or from?
no, from the other
the
side,
side?
right? Isn't,
So, pretty much all of my families actually come from here. They're basically coming down Porter Street at the top of my street, and they come down this way on Kennedy Circle. And so right now, most of them drive all the way down and they come in this way. But I switched it and I drew it this way because I think if parents pulled in this way and we started doing drop off this way, then I figured that if I put staff parking here, then the staff are generally, parked there for the day, and don't really have to come and go. So it shouldn't be an issue. It's not like it would be like parents pulling in and out of those spots, during a drop off or pickup time. And that way that leaves these all open up here for parents with a lot more space to, pull in and back out and essentially pass cars if they're parked along that circle.
yeah, Bob, although if she widens that entrance, which is there must be a curb along that road, right?
Mhm. Right in front of this circle part?
Yeah, like
Like slight
bituminous
concrete.
curb, not like a granite or a large concrete curb, but is there a rolled bituminous concrete, which is the tar?
Possibly, I just can't picture it right now because it's all it's just the
Because
all grass area.
I think that would be expanding the curb cut, and if that's the case, you may need to get a permit from the DPW.
Okay, so I would have to check on that.
Because I think this is kind of narrow for people coming from Porter Street and turning right here. It just doesn't seem like a natural angle for a right turn. It looks more like again, where you say they're already entering further south here, that's a more natural, and it's designed more for that type of circulation around them.
Mhm. I see what you're saying by turning in here where they're naturally going. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can go back to my other one, the original one, if you wanted to revisit that.
But if you're saying that I'm assuming staff all arrives before your customers start arriving.
Yes.
Families. And if they're not moving and backing into that may not be as much of an issue, having people come in. But I think it needs to be very clear, the flow of traffic.
Okay. And so when you're talking signage, I would have to, I'd have to like drive by Blanche Ames or something to, check what you mean. Do schools normally just have a simple sign that is a directional sign? Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, just a simple like, one way, or
Yep.
do not enter, and then an enter here. And it doesn't have to be, it just needs to be visible to people who are driving.
Okay. Yeah. That seems like something simple, that we can definitely do and install. Whatever we need to bring us into compliance, with the town for that.
And then, Bob, the other question I had was related to events that would include having all the parents arrive and be at the school at the same time. I used an example of like graduation. I don't know if you do like preschool or something, but you have 36 students, and that's at least 13, no, not 13, how many, 18 vehicles, and there would not be sufficient parking, so people would be parking along Kennedy Circle.
So I can explain that a bit more in detail as well. So I had shown you the 3 classrooms. So the maximum I would have is 3 classrooms. My narrative states up to 36 children. I do not think I will have a max of 36 children. In each classroom, there would be a maximum of 7, 9, and 10 children. I plan to have an infant classroom, a toddler classroom, and a preschool classroom. So planning to expand here, if I was to do events, I would do it per classroom and not per school. So I would have, like a preschool event, which would be a maximum of 10 students, or the toddler classroom with 10 students, or the infant classroom with 7. So it would actually never go over like currently what we're doing right now, because I have a family childcare license for 10 with 2 staff. So you're ideally looking at the same thing. If we do, for example, I've done fall socials in the past for my family childcare, and again, not all families have attended, but if they were all to attend, it would be 10 families max, and your teachers for that classroom. And that's the only thing that I would plan on keeping and doing that, a fall or spring social.
So what time of day do you have that, and what day of the week?
So those, in the past, I have done them right when we close at like 4 p.m. On a Friday. That's normally when I do them.
Okay, because then again, if I said the minimum you're likely to have would be the 18, but if you have parents that are working and they work in different locations, you could have 2 parents for 1 child show up with 2 vehicles. So you could have, so you said like 10 students, you could have up to 20 cars.
Okay, potentially, yes. So then if we did have the 9 parking spaces and 2 were used up by staff, then we're looking at 7 available for parents. And then you're saying, aside from the parking, that there would be parents parking on the street if I did something like this?
Yes. That's the concern.
Okay. I mean, if it's not something that's doable, like to maintain doing something like that, I am open to like renting a space within the town if I did want to do a whole school event. That's not a make or break deal for me at all. So, if larger events like that were not allowed at this location, I would be okay with that. And then also, I think you had mentioned, aside from events, with that, parents coming and going, if I was to do parent-teacher conferences, I would offer those virtually and in person. But again, kind of like the staggered drop-off pickup times, I would give them scheduled times as well. So we would only be doing 1 at a time. So we should have enough with the extra 3 spots. to host, in-person parent-teacher conferences.
So Bob, my suggestion would be, and the board should discuss this, but my suggestion would be that the board could consider issuing an approval with the condition that the parking during those special events be monitored, and if there are any complaints, that it needs to be revisited with the board. And then that's just a suggestion, a thought.
Mhm. Board members, questions, comments?
Yeah, can I make one comment? In looking at the site here, Brittany, I think there's a lot of opportunity to get more parking. The spots that you have diagonally, couldn't they be parallel along the line? And then you've got the exit, which could take another number of parallel spots. If you're going to close down that center circle as you've got on the dotted line. I mean, I'm not laying it out, but I mean, I can see probably another 4 or 5 spots being available. And then people are going to do what they're going to do, and they're probably going to park around your inner circle as well, assuming there's clearance and they're not blocking anybody in, especially the couple spots there closest to the house. So, I mean, if you can make those parking spots, you could conceivably add, another 5 or 6 spots to this plan.
I could do that. Can I pull up the other one real quick? This one. It's just a little bit easier to see, I think. So this was what I had originally drawn with the 2 that were straight. So I do think this one is a little bit too close, but I see what you're saying. So that was another idea too. If I did close off the circle, this is all just grass right now. There is one rock that's like right here, which the driveway companies did say it kind of looks like it's the tip of an iceberg. They're not going to want to dig that one out, but they could make it a small, nice, put some plants and stuff around that rock and kind of close off all of this. So I could significantly reduce this and do parking, straight along there. Is that what you're asking?
I mean, if you did the parking along both sides, I mean, I think you could probably get 4 or 5 spots on the inlet and the outlet. And if you put employees towards the end, you wouldn't have those doors opening and closing when people are coming in and out.
Mm-hmm.
It might work out for you. Just in looking at the site plan, I think there's some opportunity there.
Okay. Is that something that if I was to edit the parking, would I need to come back to do that, or just like re-upload?
Like defer to Stephanie on that.
Okay.
I mean, that strikes me as a fairly significant change. My preference, although I welcome everyone's thoughts and opinions on this, my preference would be to see the plan and just make sure that Stephanie has an opportunity to go in and just make sure that the calculations were done correctly. And then it may very well be that this will be a very quick meeting, so you wouldn't have to spend too much time here. But that would be my suggestion if you're going to make a significant change to the plan like that. And I think it's an excellent suggestion by Alan.
I think you'd also need to identify the handicap spot, because that will have different dimensions than the standard ones that you have there.
Okay.
Good point. It's also a good point, yeah.
That comes with an additional question. You intend to mark this parking spot on the pavement?
Yes, I believe I was told I need to mark the parking spots.
Yes.
And they need to be lined parking, and handicap needs to be marked.
Right. So that was, I think that instead of the diagonal, the idea of putting online parking on that side and in additional areas will give you the capacity that you need in order not to have issues.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions?
I just want to make a comment because I have in front of me the street view, and there is a curb on the side of this road that will need to be cut. So yes, I think you need a special permit to do that.
A permit from the DPW.
Exactly.
Yes, yeah.
I can see the curb. For you, the curb is the side of the road gets a little elevated and inclined, and that's
Yeah.
called the curb. And you have it in front of your house there.
Okay. Yeah, I'm glad you could pull that up on the Google Maps or whatever. Okay, so
What do we all think? I'm sorry, Miss Butler, but what do we all think about Alan's suggestion? I know I personally like the idea, but I don't want to send Miss Butler on an assignment if we're not all as intrigued by the idea as I am.
I personally think that is a very good suggestion. I was going to kind of suggest to look for, but he actually gave a good solution, in my opinion.
I would support it.
All right, good. Then I think that's the game plan. I think what I would like to do is just continue this hearing to the next meeting, and hopefully that'll give you enough time to submit a plan along the lines that we've been talking about, and hopefully it'll be a real quick meeting for you. We'll get you in and get you out.
okay. Okay, sounds good. And with that, would you like me to also get additional driveway estimates or drawings? Would that help?
Mhm.
For the parking and whatnot? Okay. And so just to clarify, we're talking about closing the circle as much as we can and parking on either side, like both sides? Okay.
That's right.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I will accept a motion.
Motion to continue the review of this plan. Is that next?
It's the end of the month.
The 31st, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
To March 31st to review the plan for additional parking. Kevin.
Second, Wolf.
Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. Kedem?
Aye.
Weeks?
Aye.
Wolf?
Aye.
Kidd?
Aye.
And Stetson's and I as well. All right, we'll see you at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Okay. So on to board business. This is on the fee schedules. Stephanie, do you want to give a little intro and explanation here?
Yes, and I mentioned this at the last planning board meeting. In light of the financial challenges that the town is facing, from a budget standpoint, the boards in the town, all the boards, the permitting boards have been asked to, hold on, I'm just trying to things up, have been asked to look at their fees and increase them. And part of that is also based on the fact that fees across the board really have not been updated or increased in many years. I know that from the time I've been working for the town, which has been 18 years, I don't recall the planning board fees having been increased. I do know that when I first started working for the town, the Conservation Commission filing fees had been increased. And I think in talking with the the director of Health and Community Services, the Board of Health hadn't increased their fees for probably over 20 years. So what I have done is I spent a bit of time looking at our fee schedule and the fee structure. And I started off with kind of a blunt look, which I actually came back to, of applying a 10% and a 25% increase. And what the board is being asked is to go to 25% if they can. But also looking at some of the kind of smaller fees and looking at what that would do in some of the larger fees to see if it made sense to do a more category by category increase and looking at that rather than just kind of a blunt tool. But it really, the amounts that say an approval not required would be increased are really not substantial enough that just using either the 10 or 25% would make a big difference. I mean, the amount that I look at it and say, oh, I think this is a good amount based on the time and energy that staff puts into actually processing and permitting the fees. And that's another document that I have here. So I put together the fees that were collected over the last 5 years, the number of permits that represented, kind of an average fee per permit, understanding that that's really, again, just an average. And then looking at the staff hours for the number of fees that were processed during that year, based on, again, on breaking down what the tasks are in actually processing the fees and processing applications themselves. And coming up with an average of 37 hours per permit. And then what the average fee payment per permit would be.
All right, that's very helpful. So do we, in terms of just town fees, did you say you looked at Board of Health to compare? Did I hear you say that?
I took a glance at what they were doing. And again, they went in and they looked at the individual fees, but it didn't really correlate equivocally to what we have here.
Do we have
because they have a
sense?
variety of fees. They have septic system fees. They have inspections for kitchens and, a variety of different types of fees for very different activities, let's say.
How do our fees stack up against other towns?
Well, that's kind of hard to compare. I also had that. Let me find my copy of that. So I went out and I pulled from the different towns' web pages the fee schedules for Foxborough, Mansfield, Sharon, Bridgewater, Norton, Rainham, and Stoughton. And in some cases, it looks like the fees would be higher because they charge fees for more things. So for example, after a project is permitted, if there's an on-site, if I need to go out and do just a review versus the as-built plan, sometimes we will use, if it's a road, we will have a peer reviewer do that and the applicant submits the fee for that. But those are usually very large projects. Those are subdivision type projects. But if I need to go out and take a look at what's going on and monitor the project, we don't charge a fee for that. And other communities do. We don't charge a fee for applicants submitting a early plan for me to take a look at and review, or for Bob and I to get together and discuss. We don't charge a fee. We figure that helps facilitate the process. And we want to do that with applicants. We'd like them to come in with as complete an application as they can. So again, that's something we just don't charge for. And I wasn't inclined to suggest doing that either, because I don't want to discourage.
I'm just sort of curious. I mean, because look, the idea that we haven't raised our fees in 18 years at least, I mean, that's that's significant. I mean, we should, and I do think that's important. I am curious though, if I mean, even if with the fees, I mean, I'm sure there are other towns that have similar fee structures to us, but I'm curious how the actual dollar amounts stack up.
Well, that's where it's hard to tell because, so for example, let's go down, if you have the fee schedule in front of you, I mean, some of it's pretty straightforward. We have approval not required, an A&R, that's a flat fee. Preliminary subdivision, that's a flat fee. If you have, on the definitive, ours is $3,000 for the application plus $1,000 per lot, or $500 per lot if it's combined with the special permit. Foxborough, it's $1,500 for a subdivision plus $400 per lot. But then you look over at Sharon, theirs is $2,000 plus $500 per lot plus $3 per linear foot of roadway minus any preliminary filing fee. So if they had a preliminary plan, they would subtract that out. Then you have Bridgewater, which is $4,000, but plus $100 per lot, plus $625 per linear foot of road. So we don't charge a linear foot per road, but our fee is a little higher. And then
Yeah, maybe not. If
Right.
we're not, yeah, if we're not charging for the
right,
Okay. All right. Yeah, I mean, I guess what I was, because look, I think you have to have an increase, you know, I mean, there's no question in my mind that that's appropriate. But I just want to make sure that we're still competitive and it, you know, whether it's 10 or 25% or somewhere in between, but it sounds like we will be, just hearing what I just heard, no matter which way we go here. Okay.
Yeah.
That's helpful. So board members, what do we think? Questions, comments?
I'll just say I think it's appropriate in a time where there's such a structural deficit that every board kind of does what they can. In this case, it's raise the fees.
I think 25% is, it looks like something we can increase without being non-competitive compared with other towns, according to what I heard. I will say that there are certain line items here in which, like development, in which we have developers taking a lot of profit and money out of this, and I'm wondering if the 25% falls a little short. So that is in my mind. I don't know how. I'm not sure if I will suggest to do something like Sharon, in which you dig a little deeper, in which what is the size of the development and what is all about, and in that case, I think the fee might want to be higher.
I think that's a totally valid point. I guess my concern is that we don't have the time necessarily to piece that together right now. My suggestion, if other board members are thinking along the same lines as Amos, is let's get this sort of simple increase done this year, and let's spend some time to figure out what's competitive, and if there is a more appropriate structure that remains competitive and can generate more money for us. Because I think, you know, if other towns are doing it, I don't see any issue with us doing it as well.
I would say the opposite. You want to do it as other towns.
Sure, absolutely. No, I agree with you. I think it's an excellent point.
I mean, I think the data from the other towns is an interesting benchmark, but I don't think developers would make a decision to build in town A versus town B based on fees. I think they're going to commit to a certain location and a certain tract of land or a certain opportunity, and I think they're going to pay the fees. as long as they're not crazy.
Zoning. I mean, I do think zoning definitely makes a big difference.
Yes.
But yeah, I look, I agree with everything that everyone has said. Kathy, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Mickey. I think the time is now to implement this, and yeah, we should move forward.
So what do we think? So what, as a starting point, what I mean, I'm in favor of the 25%.
My vote for that.
I'm in favor of the 25%, but and again with the targeted review afterwards to see if that works or if there needs to be more in certain areas. And this doesn't track one-to-one, but like in the CBA at my library, I have to meet with my counterparts to go over job descriptions once every couple of years once every year to make sure that they track, and something similar maybe with this board, just to review of fees once a year to make sure everything's tracking with other communities, but also to the market, kind of. I hate to say it as a municipality type thing, but also to the market.
And I just want to remind everyone that tonight, your vote will be to hold a public hearing because we have to do this in a public hearing. The actual.
So do we actually even have to choose the number that we're targeting, or how do we? Oh, so we don't even have to do that tonight. Okay.
No, but I think it's right. Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I think we're all seeing this on the same page. Well, then I'll have a motion to push this to a public hearing.
Motion to bring the increase on fees to the public hearing.
Second.
Let you have.
Right.
Either one.
Hearing and seeing no further discussion. Kedem.
Aye.
Kind.
Aye.
Weeks.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Stetson's and I as well.
And
Okay.
something I'd like to add, which really shouldn't change the vote, but I'm pretty sure I talked at a previous meeting that something else that we're undertaking, we received a grant from the state, the Community Compact Program for best practices. So we will be conducting a review of our, I call it development permitting process, which means every aspect of permitting that generally is typical for a development project. So building, planning board, conservation commission, board of health, and DPW and fire. And the idea is to look at the processes, see where certain projects are getting hung up and kind of delayed through the process, and see if there are tools and recommendations that we can adopt that will help facilitate that. So, an example might be stormwater management. We see a lot of delays there. Are there things that we can do working with both with our peer reviewers and with the developers to make sure that when a project comes to us, that their stormwater review should go much quicker and much faster and have just a few comments.
I have another one. Presentations of projects on the board meeting should be a lot more efficient.
I would love to hear your comments on that, because I actually wanted to say, and I forgot to say it because I was really going to say it, and commend Ms. Butler on her command of something she started off by saying, I've never done this before.
Yeah,
Shared screen and anything. And I thought, boy, and we have all these experienced engineers who just
engineers that don't know how to deal with the screen.
Yeah.
I was going to say it. I just didn't know if it was appropriate, but I was impressed.
Well, something I have heard, because I have said this I think I've said it once or twice in a meeting, but definitely when I'm offline to an engineer or an applicant, when their project comes in really good shape. And that was actually one of the things I've heard recently, that really you should comment on that and acknowledge that, because It just means it makes everybody's life so much easier.
Maybe we need to do the opposite when it's not going good and they are trying to say, come next time.
Yeah.
And
But then we're just delaying.
bye, come.
Right. Take a Zoom class.
It's just, oh, Lord.
I
I have one more quickie on this permitting fees, if we're going to have a public hearing. There's another dimension somewhat related to it, and that is the length of time by which the permits are applicable. The only reason I bring it up is because it's in my backyard. I don't know if you're familiar with Ford Circle, but when I was on the board in 2006, we permitted that, and they are just building the first house.
Ford Circle?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
They are just building the first house now.
You know, it's funny, Alan, because that was one of the first ones, because part of my job when I first started here was doing street inspections.
Right.
And Ford Circle was one I had to go out and do. And it was, I was like, what is this even?
I was just surprised that it had been extended that long. I thought we had like a 2-year fuse on a special
They
permit.
reapplied.
Yeah, okay. So then
Yeah.
reapply means re-up the fee, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I only bring it up because it happened to cross my radar today in terms of the length of time that the permit
You should
fee
pay.
is applicable.
You're suggesting for them to pay again, right?
Well, I mean, different towns.
Yeah,
might
I
have
mean,
different-
if your permit expires,
Right.
that's what happens. And that happens, that does happen on the Conservation Commission side. Their permits for work, they have a 3-year life, and people their project may go on for a while.
What do we have?
It's 2 years.
I think it's 2 years. And you
Special
have-
permit.
If they have not started substantial work, I mean, that's the
Substantial,
way.
yeah, that's the word.
That's the way it's written, so, and there's some interpretation, I don't know if Bob's aware of this, but that so we had, the island over on Pond Street, which has since been purchased the town hasn't purchased it. The trustees of reservations has, and the town purchased a conservation restriction, but it was one of the Ames properties. And they had it permitted for, I think it was just 2 house lots, but it was a special permit and it expired and they had to reapply again because they didn't know what they were going to do with it. They
Right.
didn't know if it was going to be purchased for permanent open space or if it was actually going to be built.
One more comment for you, Stephanie. Maybe a way to compare fees with other town is if you have certain development like South Street or Sawmill, take the information from that, find something similar in another town, and compare the fees
And compare the fees, yeah. Mhm.
and that will be a good way to see it.
One more quick question as it goes to presentations next time, and I may have missed it, and if I did, I'm sorry. But is there a way to put like all on one spreadsheet, the comparison between the towns, and then also just a column that shows the staff time and preparation? I saw them on separate sheets. I don't think I saw them on the same sheet. And I think particularly for a public hearing, that would be really helpful for people to understand how long some of these things take and how much staff time versus what the fees are.
So I just had, this is not something that we track on a regular basis, like how much time staff is actually putting into each activity. What we did was I had Suzanne estimate how much time she spent on particular activities, particular aspects of each permit. And then I added my own time. And in fact, I increased her time in several instances because I knew it took more time than, it takes me 20 minutes or 10 minutes to write a public hearing, which it never takes, Suzanne, just 10 minutes to do that, because you really have to think about it and you have to make sure it's legally correct and everything. And I would go in and you have to think about the fact that you stopped doing one thing, you had to start another thing, you may have stopped, you have to look at it. You didn't just spend, I see you nodding your head, Mickey, you know that.
Yeah, no one is asking for accuracy. Should be an estimate average of what
But by,
it is, without exaggerating in any direction.
Ooh, when I submit my state reports, I have usually on some areas I have a drop down. It's estimate or actual, because there's things like reference questions where did we track exactly how many reference questions were asked for the year? No, I just took a week's worth 4 times a year and did some math. So I always put it as an estimate, and you should be able to do the same kind of in the column and just say, make sure that it's clear that it's an estimate.
Oh, the law firm lawyer here bills in 6-minute increments, so I know down to the minute.
yeah.
Well, the fees are a lot higher.
I think what you're saying, Mickey, is we would look at the type of permit and then take those activities as opposed to kind of a general, like each of these activities apply, which did kind of come up in the conversation. So, for example, you don't have to we only do hearing notices for permits that require a hearing.
Yeah, you might have cases and you have outliers, right?
Yeah.
In which for some reason you will dedicate more time. But those are outliers. And when you do the estimate average, it should bring it down to some kind of amount of time.
Right, and we did that. So for example, for Forbes Lane, the 4-lot subdivision next door, I have spent more time on the phone with that engineer trying to follow up and with the peer review engineer to get everybody on the same page than I have, say, on South Street. But on the, similarly for the 44-lot sawmill subdivision, I spent a lot of time, hours and hours and hours following up on that between the applicant and the peer review, and because of the floodplain reanalysis and everything that went on with that project, that took substantially more staff time.
I think in a public hearing where there may be people who come because they're curious about what's happening, demonstrating, they might not know like what a public hearing entails and how much time it takes to do that. So showing kind of the back scenes, the back scenes, I'm messing that up. Behind the scenes. I'm sorry. It's been a long time. It's been a big day. But showing the behind the scenes of it this is how much time it takes. It's not just a matter of Suzanne just like dumps stuff in that it takes time to do all of this. Yep. I think it's really instructive for folks because not a lot of folks know what you do in municipal work. It's a lot of kind of specialized knowledge.
Exactly.
So I agree. I think an additional column that put hours of the staff dedicated to that, I would say not our time. So we will walk through or we dedicate this volunteer job. It doesn't cost anything, right? But your time for sure.
So Mickey, if I just want to make sure I'm understanding what you're asking is like, you'd like to see an estimate of staff time by the type of permit.
Yes.
Yes, and probably but in minutes, I think that would probably be the easiest across all of the permits to kind of keep quantifiably similar.
And Stephanie, not for every line item on this spreadsheet, but for maybe development and important big projects that have high fees, if there is a column that say Sharon or Foxford or neighboring towns fees, and you put an amount there, also we will help understand what other towns do, if it is possible at all.
That takes more staff effort.
Yeah. I know, but yes.
That could be something after this one is done with the public hearing. Maybe that's the thing that.
Right, maybe that's something that, because you want to come up with a process on how you're going to do that so that you know where you're getting the information from.
Okay.
I mean, again, I'm looking at these fees and they're not a 1-for-1 compared to what our fees are.
So this actually opens up, and I'd say a conversation beyond this public hearing, which is is this something that you could go joint towns for a grant with? I'm just thinking of when we do, when they do reclassifications in libraries, like right now, it's the Collins Center who does it. A lot of libraries, we all give all of our information. It takes us a lot of time, but in return, we get really good data about what the job positions are, how much people are making, what's the minimum, what's the maximum, etc. It might be something that surrounding kind of communities would also be interested in, to kind of have a apples to apples comparison, or as close to apples as you can get. But again, not for this time. I'm thinking like next year or something like that.
So, yep, that will be, so let's put that on the list for the next planning director.
Stephanie, do you have a town that you can have partnership in this thing? A town that will do partnership on these specific issues of,
I think other towns would be interested if I approach them. I mean, people are always exchanging information.
Yeah.
We have a planners listserv where people will reach out and ask for certain information and everything. I mean, pulling the fees from the website was actually much easier than I thought it would be in the period of time that we had. I just wanted to, so let's see. Just wanted to see.
You could even have like a Google form and set it up like that, like down the road. And again, not scientific, but.
I'm going to share my screen for a minute because I had that one chart that showed the 5-year fees, the permits, and then breaking it down. But this is the spreadsheet that we worked from. So can you see that?
Yep.
So zoom in a little bit. So what we did is, between Suzanne and I, we identified, the various activities associated with the permitting process, and we applied a time to that. And then I actually did a couple of things. So you can see you have minutes per task, because these are things that are tasks that are associated with each permit. And again, there are a few things that aren't, like we don't have a design review team for every site plan review. We wouldn't have one for this childcare center, but for the warehouse that was constructed on Turnpike Street, or for Bill Adams' project, for anything that's new commercial development and stuff, we always have a design review team meeting. So, but, and again, not everything has a hearing notice, but enough kind of do. Then we looked at the activities that are really per meeting. So every meeting, regardless of how many permits are on the agenda, we have to do the meeting room reservation, the agenda preparation. I know that looks like, oh, well, how long does it take to do the meeting room reservation? Well, you have to go to Zoom, you have to make sure you confirm that, etc. We have the preparation of the binder, applicant meeting presentation coordination. That is a big thing. Suzanne calling and telling people that they need to present their materials and that type of thing. So I can share this with the board as well.
Yeah, you need to consolidate that into one line of hours.
Into one line,
For each one of the items.
each of the permits.
Yes.
You know what? We can do that. Now that we have this information.
Yeah.
We can do that.
Yeah, I just say
Yep.
it's 80 hours of people just working to do the
Yep.
item. And again, you put estimate.
Yep.
All right. Let's go on to meeting minutes, February 18th.
Yeah. Good to go.
All right. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the meeting as presented. Kevin.
Second?
Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. Kidd?
Aye.
Kedem?
Aye.
Weeks?
Aye.
Wolf?
Aye.
And Stetson's and I as well. All right. Next up is the variance request for 60 Pond Street. Stephanie?
Oh, this came before the board. Oh, I just shut down my binder. This came before the board. It came before the Board of Appeals probably 4 months ago, and they're seeking a setback variance. They are proposing an addition to the house, and there is less than a foot of distance to the side yard. So just hold on a minute, I'll pull back up.
We saw this already.
You did see it. And what happened is they, let me just pull it up. They made a small change to what they had originally proposed. Here, we did this in a, Suzanne,
It became out of order somehow.
did
But
you
that's the plan.
read the staff report?
I did it. I think it's somehow it got jumbled. It should be there though. It's further up.
Yeah, it
You
looks
found
like
the plan.
they cut
The
back
staff
the front of
report's
the
right
carport.
after the fees, right after your fee chart is the staff report I found in my binder.
Explain the
There we
change.
go.
Yeah,
I think they just cut back the carport so that they had slightly higher side
Correct.
setback,
Right.
correct.
So they're making it,
more
I
compliant.
guess, more compliant. Oh, all right. Well,
Did we recommend the previous one?
yeah, we did,
Board-
as I recall.
So,
The board did. The zoning board of appeals denied it.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to, let's see.
Why did they deny it?
Suzanne, what was
They
their,
denied it because it was 8 inches away on that rear view.
yeah, they just felt it was too close.
It was
Oh,
too
so that's
close.
why they increased the side setback by cutting back the front of the carport.
Mm-hmm.
I
Right.
see.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And it's
So,
inches.
yeah, I mean, it's not a substantial change, but
well, if we are going to be
Small little lot. It's a small lot.
it is,
Yes.
yes.
Well, I mean, I think it's fine. We've already looked at this. Sounds like it'll be more compliant. But what do others think?
Yeah,
Well, they're actually increasing the nonconformity on the
Porch.
front yard setback. They've reduced the distance in the front yard by 4 feet.
That's from the existing home, though. Do we
Yes.
have a comparison from what we looked at before?
I didn't include
I
that.
think it's the same. There's an aerial.
I think that
view
was-
somewhere
I
in
think
there.
it's the same too.
And I think really the Board of Appeals concern was with that
Rear.
side.
That's
setback,
the
that
side
rear
setback,
yes.
which is where they're trying to pick up a foot.
Right, yeah.
Mhm.
Any motions?
Motion to recommend, Kevin.
Second, Wolf.
Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. Kedem,
Aye.
Weeks,
Aye.
Kidd.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Stetson's an aye as well. Okay, next item, and I'll be brief on this because I think the goal is to think about ways that we can, in my mind, one of the primary goals for zoning this year and maybe the next couple of years should be to try to figure out ways where we can increase the tax base and, in a sensible and thoughtful way. I know I've been discussing some ideas with Stephanie, and we're still not quite ready to go live with those, but I think what I would like for everyone to think about, and I know we did a lot of brainstorming last year, the ADU thing kind of came to a head. I've seen some similar discussions going on about single family zoning recently, where there's a push, at least a minor one at this point, to get the legislature to take some action in imposing, some changes to single family zoning. So that, who knows, maybe that will end up being a top-down approach. In the meantime, my hope is that as a board, we can come up with some recommendations and some thoughts and maybe get something on for the fall town meeting that could help. Every little bit helps, in my opinion. And, by relaxing some zoning, I think there are some areas of opportunity here in Easton. And I know, Alan, you looked at one of the big ones on my mind for sure, Washington Street and that whole corridor.
Right.
So that's really all I wanted to say about that tonight, is to, put your thinking caps on. And I know you always are wearing them, but, and then, after the town meeting, the spring town meeting, I think, we really need to coalesce around a couple of strategies and see if we can do something.
I have a question, Bob. Is commercial and industrial on the thoughts for Easton, because that's a big chunk of revenue on some of the towns around us. They have that, and we don't really to that extent.
So,
And that is something that maybe we can do something on that direction as well.
So if I could comment on that, commercial new development will help the town just the same as residential. And again, it's really the value, the assessed values that drive what your revenue is. What I was reminded of when we were at the PACE meeting last Wednesday, someone asked, can't we just, they wanted to increase the commercial tax rate even higher, but not necessarily for smaller businesses, because they thought that would generate more revenue than we can generate under the 2.5%. But really, your tax base, your tax levy, is that 2.5% across the board. And when you have a higher tax rate for businesses, you're just shifting more of that burden to the businesses from the residents.
I'm not talking about taxes.
Okay, because
I don't say a word about taxes. Okay. By the way, if you elevate the taxes, the business will not come. So
Right.
actually end up losing. So I'm not sure is the right policy. All I'm saying is zoning and the areas we have, maybe there is an opportunity here to increase the business and industrial to manufacturing, all kind of other things that can give us also an additional source for income.
So I think it's a really important thing for us to be talking about. And to Stephanie's point, really it comes from the value of the land and the value of the structures, the building. That's where the tax revenue comes from. And I mean, if you look around, I don't think I'm going out on a limb here to suggest that it's multifamily that's the most valuable right now. Particularly dense multifamily. And that's what seems to be kind of the way right now. And that it changes. I mean, right after the pandemic started, it was cold storage facilities were selling for the craziest prices I had ever seen in my life because, there was a need there. Right now, the need is multifamily. That need could change 2 years from now. So, and it may very well be that it tilts back to manufacturing or industrial. I mean, who knows what these tariffs are going to do, for instance. Maybe there really will be a market for some of these things that have been overseas for, a couple decades to come back home. I mean, this is the kind of conversation that I really do want to have. And so I really think it's a great starting point, and I really want to get into this in earnest, shortly after the Springtown meeting. So excellent thought, Amos, and everyone else. I would love to hear your thoughts on it as well. So that's our homework assignment for the next month or so. And then once that town meeting gets wrapped up, I'd like to have a couple brainstorming sessions with us. And hopefully, coalesce around some ideas that we want to potentially bring to the town in the fall. All right. Well, that's all I have. And Stephanie?
The only thing I had is a while ago, I think this was suggested during one of the planning board meetings when we were reviewing signs. Is that something the board, signing off on the internally illuminated signs, is that something the board would be interested in having as an administrative approval?
Certainly yes for me.
Absolutely. I don't know why we're reviewing those.
Well, because it says so in the code, in the bylaw, and we may need, I will need to talk to Jay. Suzanne pointed this out to me. It specifically states the planning board, but I think that I think the question for Jay will be, well, can the planning board vote to allow staff as their proxy to review it? And if not, can it be changed because it's not in the bylaw specifically stating that? Is that something that the board would like to see changed in the bylaw? Of course, not for this town meeting, but for the next.
No, absolutely. I think we should describe a little more about the signs that are illuminated. What are the rules? What do we need? And have the building inspector be the person that enforces that, and that's it. Take this burden out of us. Absolutely.
I agree.
Okay, so we'll look into that.
All right. Well, thank you all, and I will accept one final motion for the evening.
Motion to adjourn, Kevin.
I did. Was that Weeks? Did you get in the second?
No, but I will second.
Okay. All right. Hearing and seeing none. Kid?
Aye.
Weeks?
Aye.
Kedem?
Aye.
Aye.
Wolf? And Stetson's and I. Thank you all, and I will see you in a couple of weeks.
All righty.
Good night,
Good night.
everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good luck and good night.